All right, welcome in, everybody. It is the noon show, the high noon show with me, Pugs Moran, here on the Radio Misfits Network. Okay, I got to be completely honest from the start here. Typically, what we like to do on the show, this noon show, is that we just go through all the trending topics. It's your lunchtime. Maybe you're having a little something to eat. Maybe you feel a little left behind by the coworkers. You want to be able to jump into them conversations there at the what do you call it? The water cooler. Do they still have water coolers? I don't know, man. I haven't worked in a room. I really haven't. But anyway, that's what the point of this show is. We want you to maybe you're unwrapping a sandwich at your desk there. Yeah, you put us on. You hear us talk about everything that everybody's talking about. So we go through all of the trending pages. We try and I try and curate them into a nice list. And typically, what had happened is. Hold on a second. Sorry, needed to plug something in there. Typically, what would happen is I would have it all prepared for you and all laid out, and we just go bam, 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 and we'd start running through them. But you may have noticed I was about a minute late getting on the air today. That's because just exactly at 11:59. It's 11:59. 1 minute before I'm supposed to start this show, I accidentally clicked X out on something, and that something was my entire show that was laid out. That's okay. I can wing it. You know, I know what we were going to talk about, and I guess the point here is we're gonna test how much I can retain from the stuff that I read earlier today while prepping for all this. And you know, the whole point of this is it's supposed to be stuff that is trending right now. So, you know, why not? Why not just try it? Hey, and by the way, if you joined us last night for our 10 o'clock show, we do this twice a day. We do it at noon here, which is a topic-driven portion where we just talk about current events and trending topics and all that stuff. And at the nighttime show, the 10 o'clock show, it's a little bit looser. It's a little bit wilder. Oh, you know, we have a little bit of fun. Last night's show I thought was particularly fun. So we got into a couple of things. If you want to go and check that out, you can go to any of those places. You go to YouTube, Pugs and Company page. You can go to the Facebook page there, Pugs and Company Facebook page. You can find last night's show. You're looking for the Pillow Talk edition of Pugs Moran Live. I almost said Pugs and Kelly. I almost did. I can't believe that. That's some memory recall, huh? That's just something that was back there in my head and went, hey, we want to speak. But no, this is Pugs Moran Live. And last night on the show, I have just been spinning. After the show ended, I think we got off the air about midnight last night. Typically, those nighttime shows run like 10 o'clock to midnight. Sometimes, if you're lucky, the sound will go out and I'll do an extended hour not knowing the sound is out, and it'll be a mime performance for the ages. You'll love it. But most of the time, it starts at 10 o'clock. It's a little bit looser. And then after the show, after every show, I take another 2 hours and just listen or watch back or whatever. Where's that coming from? Oh, I get it. I'm sorry. See, I didn't do all the things that I would normally do just before signing on here for the noon show because, as I said, I accidentally X'd out of absolutely everything I was going to talk about. But it gives me an opportunity to talk about last night. If you want to check this out, this is I swear I was so entertained. Listen, now that's not something that typically happens. When I listen back to something that I've done, I am so self-conscious. I am so hypercritical. I mean, look, there were plenty of things that I did last night between 10 and midnight that just drove me nuts, that just, made me want to go, just end it. Just be like, oh my God, what am I doing here? But the content that was essentially fueled by you, primarily our Facebook people. I had put a couple of topics on the Facebook page, just fishing, just looking for inspiration, just looking for something to have a little fun with in the 10 o'clock Pillow Talk show. And one of them was, tell me your inappropriate song. What songs from our past do you hear now and go, oh yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I never listened to these lyrics or what. So we went through a whole bunch of those, and my good, it almost completely became a talk about why are all these rock stars pedophiles? Why are there so many songs, popular songs in the great global songbook of popular music of the last 50, 60 years. Why are there so many songs that just openly advocate for and defend statutory rape, jailbait type activities? Unbelievable. And it all started with, the idea that we are living in these times now where things that were once just acceptable, or maybe even not acceptable, but things that we didn't fight over. We didn't go. We just were like, all right, whatever. Now we fight for it. Now we're triggered by everything. But apparently back then we weren't. And if you want to give it a listen, it was a really fun listen. I also, if you're familiar with my old show, with my wonderful, talented partner, Kelly, I also asked the question last night, what have I personally done? What have you heard me do over the decade plus that we were on the air here? What have you heard me do that would probably get me canceled today? And oh my God, you guys took me on a trip down memory lane that I'm not sure I wanted to go on. There was nothing that was really too bad, but holy cow, was that fun. So, now this is in direct opposition to the previous night's show. I believe that the previous night's show was possibly the worst we'd done. I don't know what was going on there. It just didn't feel right. I was very angry at myself. So I got my game face on and I really tried to have a little bit of fun last night in the 10 o'clock hour. And I think you'll enjoy it. I think if you were fans of the old show and you want to check out, some of those memories being dropped on me that I had no idea of, find out why I think pink smells like onions. Performer Pink. I've totally forgotten some of those things. So please, you can check it out. Again, the show runs 2 times daily, here at noon with the trending topics portion. And then we do something again at 10 o'clock at night. Although programming note, there is no show on Friday nights. The show's at 10 o'clock, the Pillow Talk edition. This is the high noon edition. And then there's the Pillow Talk edition. The Pillow Talk edition airs every Sunday night through Thursday night. So, it's a little bit different than this. This is your, Monday through Friday work day, every day at high noon kind of thing. If you want to join us, we'd love it. Spread the word, please. I tweeted something out last night. It just really dawned on me. It was a little, not frustrating, but, we're learning how to do this. I come from a career in major market broadcast media, radio, Chicago, and then here in Dallas for a number of years. And so this whole how the streaming stuff works, I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. This is, the freedom everybody wanted. The pay sucks, but the freedom to really just create and kind of control your image. I never really had that sort of freedom before. So this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure this out. This has been the first week. You guys have been so wonderfully supportive. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I really do. It means a lot. This was incredibly scary for me, so I appreciate you. But that being said, I tweeted something last night on Twitter and got pretty good response. It was just a throwaway line, but I said, they say the hardest thing to do in life is hit a major league curveball, but I think it might just be getting your friends to retweet your content. And I meant it. I meant it. I love you guys. You guys are so supportive, but you gotta, this is how this is going to work. You gotta help me. That's what I'm saying here. You guys gotta help more. You gotta, when you see the show, if you want the show to continue, you got to tweet it out to all your friends. You got to Facebook share it with all of your friends on their pages. And look, I know it's a big ask. It's an easy ask. It's certainly not something difficult for you to do, but it's like I'm asking you to endorse the product. And maybe you don't feel that way. If you don't feel that way, that's fine. But it is really important that if you are one of the people who have been so incredibly cool in the chat room and hanging out, you got to help me out. You got to help the show grow. And that's the way you do it. So if you see it on Facebook or whatever, just please give it a share. And if you are a supporter, say something nice or say something that will appeal to your friends, because we need to build this one bit at a time. All right, another programming note that I have to say, and this came through my Twitter feed, which, by the way, if you need to follow me there on the Twitter feed, you can. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen. A number of people have contacted me on Twitter asking why I ignore them on the Facebook instant messaging or whatever that is. I'm not ignoring you. I'm not ignoring anyone. The Facebook page that I use is on my phone. And if you follow me on Facebook, if we're friends, you'll know that I have been off Facebook for almost 3 years. So when I got off Facebook, I kept the Facebook app, but I got the messaging app for Facebook is a separate app. At least it is on my Android phone. And, apps, I only have so much room for apps. And since I wasn't on Facebook, I wasn't communicating on Facebook, I went dark on Facebook for almost 3 years. I don't have direct messaging or instant messaging on Facebook. Now, I may, because of the show, go back to using Facebook on a laptop or on a pad or something so that I can follow along during the show, but I'm not there yet. I need equipment. Equipment's expensive. So we're working up to all of that stuff. So if you're one of the people, excuse me. So if you're one of the people that have been supposedly trying to contact me on Facebook, thank you. I mean, I'd love to hear from all of you. But I don't have I got too many people on Facebook. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is there's too much going on Facebook for me to really get involved on that level. So, but like I said, I'm thinking that I'm probably going to have to, because if I'm asking you guys to do things like share content, promote Radio Misfits, help out this little platform that we're trying to build here locally in the DFW Fort Worth Metroplex. Hey, Pugs, why don't you sound more like an out-of-towner? All right, I'm not Texas born, but I have spent more than enough time here. I've been here decade plus. Come on, man. I would never deem to call myself a Texan. I'm a Texan wannabe. I mean, that's pretty much where I am at this. But, I'm born and raised in Chicago, so I'm wearing a Chicago baseball hat. Although the Rangers are my second favorite team. And let me tell you, that's been very difficult. It's been very, very difficult. My boy Grego, hold on, wait a second. Yeah, I get so distracted. Yeah, okay, never mind. Thank you. This is my buddy Ed. Everything that Ed texts me, Ed Silla of Radio Misfits, the guy responsible, along with the noted local aesthete, Emil Cirillo, they are the two that have put this whole thing together for me. This is, we say it's a 3-headed monster operation, but really it's just 2 guys and me sitting here taking all of this stuff from these guys. So we got to make this work, because these are the 2 people that said, yeah, let's do this. I think we should do this. I think that we believe in you. We support you. So here we are. And Ed Silla, whenever he texts me, I'm going to be distracted because he's important and anything that he says has a lot. So please excuse me. And again, this is different than radio. You can do these things. We can be a little bit more loose, primarily because we don't have a guy in a suit in a corner office standing there with his arms crossed going, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're chasing rabbits, going off on a tangent. All right, I'm sorry. So if you have been one of my faithful, wonderful Facebook friends, I apologize, but there is almost no, that's not to say that in the past I didn't communicate with people. So I will do it again. But if you really want to contact me, my DMs are open on Twitter. Come over to the Twitter page. Just follow me at Pugs & Co. I mean, I'd love to talk to you. I see everybody in the chat room. I see, hold on. Let me go in the chat room right now, because I'm talking about in the past. Well, let's see. Let's welcome our folks in here to the chat room. Let's see who we're talking to today. We got, oh my God, we got Byron again. Byron is like, my man Byron has been there every day. We got Kimberly, we got Sally, we've got Tina, we got Tony, we got Liam, we got Kimberly. All right. And here's the other thing too. This is on multiple platforms. So you may, in fact, be, playing along on Facebook, or you may be playing along on the YouTube page. And if you have difficulty finding the YouTube page, there are a couple of things that you can do, but the easiest thing to do is you can just go to the web, pugscast.com, and that will take you directly to the YouTube page. And the reason that we have this special link is because apparently there are a lot of pug dogs doing YouTube feeds. So when you try and find Pugs Moran, you have to sift through like hundreds and hundreds of pug dog content. So, it's a regrettable name, but it was saddled with me, and it's my brand. I want to change my brand. It's too late to change it. That's your name. So I'm kind of stuck with it. And I happily, I'm not complaining. But if you want to find me on the YouTube feed, you just go to pugscast.com. And also somebody said that if you search in YouTube, if you just search Moran Live instead of Pugs Moran Live, it says that you'll also find it. So there's a couple of tips for you. All right, programming note. Last night on the show, we also congratulated our good friend, our old. There has never been more of a supporter of the Pugs and Kelly show over the years than Dan Weinberger at Dan Weinberger's Deli. Weinberger's Deli, so conveniently located in Grapevine. He won an award. He won an incredible award. And I feel extremely vindicated in this. I've been talking for 20 years now on Texas radio and to anybody that I bump into. Weinberger's Deli is the best deli that you can find. If you like deli, if you like sandwiches, they make soups, they get all kinds of incredible things. And, my partner Kelly and I have been talking up Weinberger's Deli for ever because it's the best. And one of them food blogs, one of them big food blogs came out yesterday, and they're often like clickbait with the headline, "The best deli in each state." And Weinberger's won. Weinberger's was elected or nominated, chosen. I'm not exactly sure of the process. I hope we don't have to have an election audit over it. But according to this blog, and according to me, and according to just about everybody that I've turned on to it, Weinberger's Deli in Grapevine is the best deli in Texas. So, you can do no wrong there if you're looking for something good. Oh, and also, here's how I first became into Weinberger's, how they crossed my plate. No pun intended. They also specialize in Chicago foods. They have hundreds of sandwiches. Dan Weinberger is a sandwich artist, but they also have, it's the only place in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex where I can get a legitimate Italian beef sandwich. Legitimate. There are other places in town that offer an Italian beef sandwich, but what it is, it's not quite. The beef isn't right. It's similar in flavor. It's flavored like an Italian. The bun is never right. So I have looked high and low in all of my time here looking for a decent Italian beef, because if you're raised in Chicago, that's a staple. That's a weekly staple. You're knocking back an Italian beef at least once a week. And Weinberger's Deli has Chicago-style hot dogs that are the best. The best. I don't want to say the best. What they are is authentic. They are real and they are delicious. Look, come on. I grew up eating hot dogs, so I'd really have to think about that if it's the best. But I'll tell you, that's another thing I've been searching for. I've been searching for hot dogs, and Weinberger's is the only place that does it right, with the sport pepper and no ketchup, of course, unless you want it. Unless you want to be a rube, that's fine. Put ketchup on your hot dog. It's already got tomatoes, but go ahead. If you think it needs more of that flavoring, have at it. So to that end, we're going to be going out, a bunch of us here. I'm bringing my boy out to Weinberger's tomorrow. We're all going to rally there at noon. We're going to have a Saturday lunch. And then we got big plans. We're going to go out on the lake. We're going to have some fun. We're going to jet ski. We're going to take advantage of this beautiful, actually, I was going to say beautiful weather, but I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow. It's nice today. It's a good lake date today. And let's hope tomorrow is the same. But we're meeting at Weinberger's at noon. So if some of you guys in the chat room, some of you that have been trying to contact me, whatever, I would love to see you. And again, this isn't like, hey, this is an appearance where blah, blah, blah. It's not. This is how Kelly and I used to do things in the early days when the station wasn't behind us. We used to do these grassroots pop up, I guess, by today's vernacular, sort of events. And it's not an event. I'm not speaking or I'm not getting up on stage. We have no giveaways. We're just going for lunch. And if I'd love to see you. I haven't seen many of you guys. So there you have it. Weinberger's Deli and Grapevine. We're going to be out there for lunch tomorrow. And by the way, if we're not going to be there for lunch tomorrow, you're going to want to follow on the Facebook page because I'll certainly let you know. But right now, we're like 99.9% sure. We talked to Dan. We're going to hang out with Dan tomorrow. Haven't seen him in a long time. It's good to see him. He's an old friend. So, yeah, because come on out. If you want to have lunch with us, and I'll try, I'm going to be with my kid, and there's going to be other kids there. So bring your kid, whatever you want to do. But come out. We'll have a nice little lunch. Can't make it, that's fine. I'm sure we'll do more of these kinds of things in the future. But I'd love to see some of you out there. All right, that's tomorrow, noon. We're going to rally for lunch at Weinberger's for a little bit of sandwiches. Although I don't think I've been here long enough that I really need the Italian beef or anything. I mean, it's always good to have out there. I think I'm going to get. I think I have to get the sandwich that Dan was kind enough to name after me and my partner. I have to get that because I'm constantly trying to impress my son, who just doesn't give a crap about anything. He's like, I've seen you in your underwear on the couch eating a bowl of cereal at 11 o'clock at night. Nothing you do is ever going to impress me. That's kind of what we have going on there. All right, let's see here. Back to the chat room before we get into the topics. And I'll tell you, the reason... Oh, I'm being told am I top of YouTube now? Rob Barr, my buddy Rob Barr. Boy, Rob Barr would be somebody to talk to these days. Talk about a guy who's dedicated his life to helping veterans. He's probably got a lot of takes on what's happening here in Afghanistan. So I'm kind of dragging my feet here on the topics that we'll get into. We'll get into them, but here's why. There's a lot of bad stuff in the topics today, and I've been trying to keep this light, non-divisive. But I mean, it's almost like that. And remember, just before I signed on, I accidentally X'd out of everything. So all of my notes, all of the things, all my little off the cuff witticisms that aren't actually off the cuff that are written down. It's a little secret to you. All your favorite radio guys, most of them aren't as witty as you think. They've pre-planned for what was going to happen, and they just got the best line for it. And I am guilty of that as well. So should we try and get into some topics here? I mean, what do you think? All right, let me see. Let's check out what's happening here. Again, I do apologize because, as I said, we X'd out. Made some stupid mistakes. Nope, don't want that. Bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. I see enough of you in there. It's like there's a lot of stuff that's trending that I want to talk about here. That I'm always trying to be sincere in my opinions. But I don't want to ever be divisive again. I don't want to say something that's going to make half of you people, because we're all so ginned up and polarized. This was supposed to be a community thing. This was supposed to be an example of how we can talk again. So let me see what we got here. Ugh. Oh my goodness. All right, we're going to start with this one. This was trending number one earlier. It has dropped down a little, but at least I prepared for it. Glenn Beck is in the news. Now, do you remember Glenn Beck? How can you forget? Some of you probably are card-carrying members of the Glenn Beck Appreciation Society, and that's fine. But, I have more personal knowledge about him. I'm not a fan. I think he is a tremendous broadcaster. I mean, if this were the 1800s, he would be a ringmaster in a circus, and he would be the highest paid ringmaster of his era. But, he's always been a bit of to me, he struck me as slightly disingenuous, a little bit overly emotional, I would say manufactured emotion. And I saw some of that again last night, and this is why he's trending. Glenn Beck is rescuing people from Afghanistan, which in and of itself is a beautiful thing. He's doing he's doing what you would like everybody of influence to do, which is pitch in at this point and do what they can without, of course, violating State Department policy or any sort of that, like that. You got to work with the State Department. But Glenn Beck has raised an extraordinary amount of money. Reports I see are anywhere between $22 and $30 million just in the last couple of days for emergency evacuation of Christians from Afghanistan. And this is why he's trending. People have an issue with this. Glenn Beck seems only concerned with Afghani Christians, getting them out of there. And that is just, boy, is that what Jesus would do? Is that what we're talking? Is that would, if Jesus came back here, right? If Jesus came down, because he's doing it in the name of, Glenn Beck being a good Christian. And I know plenty of good Christians. And the ones that I deem as good Christians are the ones that certainly wouldn't separate people in need, desperate need, based on their pledged faith. It seems callous, it seems cold, and certainly in this day and age for an American broadcaster who's fallen on lesser times. I mean, he was huge at one point, but he has sort of drifted away from whatever mainstream he once occupied here in the American consciousness. And now I'm not going to say he's fringe like Art, I almost said Art Bell, God rest his soul. A little radio hero of mine. I loved Art Bell. Alex Jones. He's sort of like an Alex Jones light, Alex Jones is the full blown silliness, and then Glenn Beck is trying to navigate some sort of midway before legitimacy and Alex Jones. So he went on Hannity last night, I guess. I didn't see it. I don't watch Hannity, but I'm just reading from the reports that I covered today. He went on Hannity last night and he started to cry because, that's what he does. He's probably a fantastic actor. I mean, this guy seems to be able to cry on demand. He starts to cry on Hannity. He's getting all emotional. And then, he uses the platform to blast the State Department. The State Department has been the number one impediment to me doing the Lord's work. You're not doing the Lord's work, Glenn. You are not doing the Lord's work. I promise you. I was raised Catholic. It was drummed into me, all of these ideas about who Jesus was. And I'm telling you, my idea of who Jesus was not a guy who would stand at the bay door of an aircraft, a giant airlift. Well, I don't know what they are. One of those giant bombers that they transport people in, standing at the door, separating people. Oh, yes, small child crying with the bandage on the head who's already been brutalized. Move out of the way for the guy that believes the exact same way I do. You go stand over there with the people who are going to be sacrificed because you're infidels. Come on. Jesus wouldn't have done that. Jesus would have. I'm seeing all of these people. We talked about the Blackwater guy, Eric Prince, certainly not a prince of a man. Also getting himself a little bit of PR for being willing to help evacuate people in need for $6,500. If you've got $6,500, I can save your life. Whoa. I mean, and I bet Eric Prince goes to church every Sunday. I bet you Eric Prince walks around with an American flag on one hip lapel and a little cross, little crucifix on the other lapel, and he probably presents himself as doing the Lord's work for $6,500. What are they taking? Do they take Venmo? Do they have a little card that they swipe before you get on the plane? So these are the actions of a couple of what I like to call ghouls. There was also an interesting tweet that I saw by someone, and I'm going to try, whenever I want to repeat these tweets, I'm going to try and give their name, but this one I didn't even. It was just such a wonderful tweet. It said that the results of American capitalism globally has absolutely no one believing that an individual could do anything without profiting. Nobody believes anyone will do anything from the goodness of their heart anymore, or words to that effect. I tried because that's probably more than the allotted characters. But isn't that true? I mean, when you see people like Glenn Beck, when you see people like Eric Prince who are looking at the situation and wondering, how do I profit? How do I profit from this? Now, it's more obvious in the case of Eric Prince charging $6,500 to save people's life to get them out of Afghanistan. That's right there. He's not even hedging that. That's obvious. Glenn Beck is a little bit more nuanced. Glenn Beck is doing it a little. Glenn Beck is pandering to the Christian evangelical wing of the American population. He is pandering to them. And I just can't believe that a Christian audience would be, look, yes, save Christians, but also save atheists and save agnostics and save those who are, into Islam, and save Jews, save any human being that needs to be saved, because that is what Jesus would do. And maybe through your actions, you convert someone. You know what? Jesus was a great promoter, man. He was great at drawing people to the party because he was such a cool guy, because he loved everyone. His love was unconditional. And those are the messages of Christianity. Now, I'm very, look, I've said I was raised Catholic. I was raised Irish Catholic. I was not given a choice. That's what I was from birth. Those were the things that I was told. I was told that this is true, this is that. And as I've grown in life, I am openly an agnostic. That is different than an atheist. People are like, you don't believe in anything? I go, no, I believe in something. I believe in the possibility of something, but I don't know. And my life is about executing my plan for what Jesus would do. Jesus, in my opinion, was probably the greatest cheat sheet to how to be a humanitarian the world has ever known. And that's how I see him. I just see him as, I don't know, is he the Son of God? I don't know. Is he the Savior? To some extent, yeah, because of his teachings. But the corruption and the manipulation of the faithful that has gone on in his name, makes me as an agnostic go, yeah, maybe I'm right not to be in league with some of these people. And it's so upsetting. Glenn Beck, I don't even know if he's still based here. And if you Google the Glenn Beck story, there is this rave story out there about what a wonderful man he is for raising all of this money to rescue Christians from Afghanistan. And it talks about what a humanitarian he is, and la 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 la. And then you see it's the Blaze. It's his own organization. It's like a PR release, and yet it's looking like a news report. And, and I've often said that our problem is that we don't know what news is anymore. We just don't. We have no faith in our institutions. We have no faith in truth. We don't believe anything that doesn't sort of jive with what we already believe. And this is the big problem. No one is curious anymore. No one will admit that they don't know what's going on. And maybe they should listen to a number of sources, take all the information that comes from that, and go from there. So that's why Glenn Beck is trending. Glenn Beck is trending today. Who else is up there today? Oh, we've got this one. This is another. Here, let me pull this up because this is actually a big story. This one I wanted to really talk about and get into. Would you just bear with me? I apologize. Like I said, I destroyed my entire show. Sorry. So now I've got to pull all of these off. NBC News last night. Was it Lester Holt? I'm not entirely sure if it was Lester or not. All right, here we go. All right, this is the story from NBC. Officer who shot Ashley Babbitt during Capitol riots breaks silence. Is it Lester? I don't know. I've only read this stuff. I feel so. This is such a horrible story. The death of Ashley Babbitt is a horrible story. What's been done to this police officer, Beck the Blue, doing his job. What's been done to him is just absolutely horrible. This all stems from the January 6th riots that we all know. But whatever you call them, I watched them unfold. I called them riots. I called them an attempted overthrow of my country. These were hooligans to the highest level. And they were all, it was Lester Holt, and they were all ginned up by, well, I've been speaking on this for a week now. We're allowing ourselves to get manipulated by people who don't have our best interest in mind. What they have is interest in selling the highest price possible for the commercials that they air. So we got to be careful with that. His name is, I'm going to give his name because he's proudly out there, Lieutenant Michael Byrd. Lieutenant Michael Byrd, a 28-year veteran of the Washington Capitol Police, the Washington, D.C. Capitol Police. He is the man that pulled the trigger that killed Ashley Babbitt. Now let's talk about Ashley Babbitt for a minute. Ashley Babbitt was an American citizen, an Air Force veteran who was radicalized to the point that she was killed breaking through a barricaded window that was housing 80 members of the United States Congress. They were being protected by police. They were staving off the riots, and she was the first one through the window, and she was the first one to fall. This idea that Ashley Babbitt is a martyr for this must only appeal to the most extreme and radicalized of us, because this was not a heroic move on her part, especially not if you're an American citizen. And again, I don't want to be divisive. I'm just telling you what I saw. But this wasn't a career criminal. This wasn't, well, I mean, I don't know, but certainly I haven't read anything about that. And she seems, for all intents and purposes, to just be a very angry young woman who served her country proudly in the United States Air Force, who decided that through whatever reason, whoever got in her ear, she had been radicalized to the point where she believed it was time for a 1776 redo. And I don't think many others of us believe that. I mean, there were a number of people there at the Capitol, but when you consider how many people are in this country and the fact that what they were arguing about, well, okay, so now you got to get into, but it wasn't a real election. No, okay, we're not going to get into that. We have to accept the results of elections. That's what our democracy is all about. So this officer, after being called a murderer by very influential people, after being threatened, dude has been in hiding for months. This is a 28-year honorably serving Capitol police officer. I thought we backed the blue. I thought we recognized that, yes, there are some problems with the police, and there are some problems that we have to look at, and maybe we have to change some of the training tactics and maybe be tougher on the people that we actually hire. But my God, that nobody is calling for an end to police. Nobody wants to live in Deadwood, okay? Nobody wants to live in a lawless country. I think that the vast majority of us know that that's ridiculous. So we all, to some degree, us normal people, we back the blue, but we also acknowledge that there are some issues we need to talk about. We need to make some changes, some tweaks to the way we do these things. And we've been making tweaks to the way we police since policing began. It's not like this is a radical idea. This man, there have been death threats on this. Here, I'll get into the story. Again, this is Lieutenant Byrd speaking with Lester Holt last night. This is why Ashley Babbitt is trending. And also, I want to say something that you're probably going to think is a little bit controversial or might upset some of you. But I believe that Ashley Babbitt, whether it was something that she'd been dealing with for a very long time or if it was just a break from reality, but there was a mental illness there. There was a mental illness that overtook all of the people who believed that they were patriots. There is a problem with people thinking that because an election didn't go your way, that you'll destroy the entire country. Be reasonable, my friends. Be reasonable about this stuff. So here, we'll get into this story here because I did want to spend a little time talking about this. and the details of what was going through this man, Lieutenant Byrd's head. I feel bad that Ashley Babbitt had to die. But this man did not do anything wrong. This man did his job. This man was tasked with protecting the people that we from coast to coast have elected to govern our society. He was doing his job. And when you understand the information that he was getting over the police radio and the smashing of the glass and then this person coming through. I mean, I've actually seen people say, "Oh, big man killing a woman." Didn't matter who was coming through that window. First one through, doesn't matter. You gotta protect the people you've been sworn to protect. In the chaotic minutes before he shot and killed Ashley Babbitt during the Capitol riot on January 6th, Lieutenant Michael Byrd focused his attention on the glass door leading into the lobby of the House of Representatives chamber. About 60 to 80 House members and staffers were holed up inside, and it was Byrd's job to protect them. Nobody approves of Congress. You look at the approval ratings for the United States Congress, it's always like 10%. It's family and friends of elected officials who are the only people who seem to approve of the way Congress runs. And that's due in large part to the fact, and you wonder, well, if that's the case, Pugs, then, how are all of these people being reelected? Why is it that you've got guys in Congress who have been there for 40 years? Well, it's because here's how this metric plays out. Everybody in Congress sucks. Except your guy. Your guy doesn't suck. Your guy is fighting for you. Your guy, you went down to the pancake breakfast and you shook his hand and he tousled your kid's hair and he's got your vote for life because he's your guy. Your guy is the only guy, so I'm just going to reelect him again. It's a work. It's a con of the highest order. This is how we end up with a 10% approval rating in the United States Congress and dudes who have been there for 40 years. We need to wake up. This is our problem. So the other thing here is we understand that there is already some ginned up disgust for the members of Congress, except your guy you like. Your guy knocked on your door. Hi, my name is, and I'm running for, you met that guy. So he's got your vote for life. Good guy, stood on my porch, told me I had a nice lawn. I like that guy. He appreciates my yard work. My vote's going to him for the rest of my life. But everybody else, you people, your guy sucks. Your guy is ruining everything. I mean, you see how ridiculous this is? And this is why. This is why Congress is despised nationwide. And yet we have people in office for 20, 30 years. You want to make real change? Get rid of everybody. Get rid of everybody. None but new blood, term limits. That's it. You don't get to stay in Congress for a decade. You get to stay in Congress like the president. 2 terms, maybe 10 years, depending on the circumstances. But that's how this has got to go. And, we won't do that, though, because it would probably take Congress to vote that in. It would probably take Congress to go, yeah, you're right. I'm going to get off this gravy train after 8 years. And also, what we need to do is after you serve, we need to make it so that you cannot go into public or private practice or take some big crazy job. We need to figure out a way to do that for at least 5 years after you leave office. There is no way that we're going to allow people to only be in there for 4 years. A dude gets in and shills for, Exxon Mobil for 4 years. And then he's like, well, my time is up. Time to be a vice president at Exxon. That's not how this can work either. There's got to be a true commitment to governing and serving on the part of the United States Congress. So that being said, I do believe that, there is authentic hatred for the United States Congress among the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. But it wasn't just members of Congress that this guy was protecting. It was staffers. It was the old lady at the little keyboard that, takes notes on everything. It was, what do they call them? Pages or possibly even interns, whatever. It wasn't just the people you hate. It was people in that room who were being bared down on by thousands of hysterically angry people. And it was this guy's Lieutenant Byrd's job to make sure that nothing bad happened to them. So about 60 to 80 House members and staffers were holed up inside, and it was Byrd's job to protect him. Now, having said that, would the rampaging marauders who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, would they have been discerning in who they tore limb from limb? Were they going to do all of what they had done, kicking through windows, starting fires, murdering a police officer, injuring countless others? Once they finally breached where these members of the despised Congress were holed up, when they finally breached that, were they going to stop and go, all right, everybody calm down. All right, we made it. All right. Let's see. Where's AOC? Let's get her first. No, they weren't going to do that. They were just going to beat the snot out of and murder and whatever. Anybody that was in that room. What Lieutenant Byrd did was heroic. He didn't murder Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt had some bad info. Ashley Babbitt had some bad things going on. Ashley Babbitt, like I said, it seems like throughout the course of her life, she was a normal person at some point. She was a good American. She served proudly in the United States Air Force, but she snapped. And when you're on the street, let's say you're at the 7-Eleven and you see a neighbor that you've known for 20 years, but all of a sudden he's in his underwear banging pots and pans with a knife in his hand. He snapped. All right. That's not the same guy you knew. So just acknowledging that there was something wrong with Ashley Babbitt, that she wasn't thinking straightly or sanely. What was the police officer to do? As rioters rampaged through the Capitol, Byrd and a few other officers of the United States Capitol Police set up a wall of furniture outside the doors. Quote now from Lieutenant Byrd. Once we were barricaded the doors, we were essentially trapped where we were, Byrd said in an exclusive interview with NBC News' Lester Holt, speaking publicly for the first time since the riot. There was no way to retreat, no other way to get out. If they get through that door, they're into the House chamber and upon the members of Congress, added Byrd, who gave NBC News permission to use his name after authorities had declined to release it. Byrd's connection to what was going on outside and inside the building, so his whole knowledge of what was happening, was his police radio. For several minutes, it crackled with a cascade of alarming messages. There were shouts of, "Officer down! Officer down!" This is what he's hearing going on outside. Remember, he's got the glass windows barricaded. All he sees is a crazy group of people smashing windows and trying to come through. His radio is screaming, "Officer down! Officer down!" And they're hearing all the madness in the sirens. It must have been absolutely horrifying. I mean, in America, absolutely horrifying. Byrd's connection to what was going on outside and inside was his police radio. For several minutes, it crackled with a cascade of alarming messages. There were shouts of "Officer down," screams from his colleagues who were under attack by rioters with chemical agents, a report that an officer's fingertips were blown off. Quoting Byrd now, "It was literally broadcast over the air. I said, okay, this is getting serious." Yeah, I think, it was. It was getting very serious. Soon a horde of demonstrators arrived. Byrd, a 28-year veteran of the Capitol Police, took a defensive posture with his gun drawn as rioters smashed through the glass doors. He said he yelled repeatedly for them to get back, which I am absolutely sure that he did. He fired one bullet at the person who came through the window. He said he yelled repeatedly for them to get back, but the mob kept pressing forward. And then a lone rioter tried to climb through one of the doors. What happened next was captured on video. Byrd fired one shot, striking Babbitt in the shoulder. Babbitt, 35, an Air Force veteran and ardent former supporter of President Trump, fell to the ground. She died from her injuries later. Her death became a rallying cry for the far right. I have friends who are on the right. I have friends who are conservatives. Now, look, most of these people are very well-educated, smart people, lifelong Republican voters, lifelong conservatives, some of them even Trump supporters. Not a single one of them that I've talked to since then. Not a single one has said that what was going on there was okay. None of them. Her death became a rallying cry for the far right, which described Babbitt as a martyr. Trump himself declared that she had been murdered and suggested falsely that the officer who shot her worked for a high-ranking Democrat. He's a Capitol Police officer. He works for the Capitol Police. He protects everybody. It's a bipartisan job. He's truly bipartisan. But information was put out there that, he watches Chuck Schumer's dog. Whatever. I made that up. That's just me being stupid, saying something ridiculous. Trump himself declared that she had been murdered. I can't get into that. But what a terrible thing to say to a 28-year veteran, a 28-year police officer. For Byrd, who is black, the incident turned his life upside down. He's been in hiding for months after he received a flood of death threats and racist attacks that started when his name leaked onto right-wing websites. But in his interview with Holt, Byrd said that he has no doubt that he made the right decision in the light of the circumstances. I know that day I saved countless lives, Byrd said. I know members of Congress, as well as my fellow officers and staff, were in jeopardy and in serious danger, and that's my job. Byrd said he had no idea whether the person he shot was carrying a weapon. It was only later that night that he found out that the rider was a woman who was unarmed. Asked why he pulled the trigger, Byrd said it was a last resort. I tried to wait as long as I could, he told Holt. I hoped and prayed no one tried to enter through those doors, but their failure to comply required me to take the appropriate action to save the lives of members of Congress and myself and my fellow officers. Now, this is interesting because the very same people who probably have an issue with the fact that once she breached his area where he was protecting everyone after announcing, stay away. Look, do you even have to announce stay away? Don't you know what you're doing is wrong? You're smashing windows to get into an area of the United States Congress that is blocked from you to enter. You are smashing windows. You are already committing a criminal offense. I can't. I didn't watch the interview because I didn't want to watch the interview. I read all of this earlier today. These very same people who call it murder when she breached the area that he was protecting, these very same people, aren't they the same ones that think it's all right to just shoot someone dead for walking across your lawn? Isn't that the whole my place, my gun? Isn't that the same argument? This was his house. This was his lawn. He legitimately felt that he was under threat, and the people, certainly he was under threat first because, he's sworn to protect the people in there. Byrd has been cleared of any wrongdoing by the Justice Department and the Capitol Police. Of course he was. Deep state. No, of course he was. Because rational people see what was happening and understand that this man performed his duty heroically. Byrd has been cleared of any wrongdoing by the Justice Department and the Capitol Police. In announcing its decision not to charge him, the Justice Department said in April that investigators had examined video, physical evidence from the scene, autopsy results, and statements from the officer involved, as well as other officers and witnesses. Here's a quote now. The investigation revealed no evidence to establish that at the time the officer fired the single shot at Mrs. Babbitt, the officer did not reasonably believe that it was necessary to do so in self-defense or in defense of members of Congress and others evacuating the House chamber, federal prosecutors said in a statement. The days before January 6th, where business as usual for Byrd, a Washington native, he and other Capitol Police officers met to review the security plan for the certification of Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. We didn't get specific intel that would require us to change or adjust our posture, he said. At that point, it felt like a routine event that I've done over the past 28 years of my career. Byrd said there was one complicating factor. Fewer officers were under his command, in large part because of COVID-19 related absences. When hundreds of Trump supporters upset over the results of the election moved on the Capitol, the images of violent clashes were broadcast live on television. But Byrd, stationed outside the House chamber, wasn't able to watch. He was dependent on his police radio. When Byrd started hearing reports from officers down, he didn't know the extent of their injuries. At one point, Byrd said, and an even more alarming message came over the radio, a report of shots fired, which he learned much later was false. Byrd said that after he heard the radio chatter warning that rioters had breached the building, he rushed inside the chamber and instructed the House members to hide under their chairs and to stay away from doors and windows. This is in the United States Congress. That's not America. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I worry that some of you may have been, sitting home watching it on TV, rooting them on. It reminds me when I was a kid, younger, not a kid, early 20s, it was, maybe even 19 or something. It was back when I don't know if it was when the Soviet Union fell, or was it when? Yes, it was. It was when the old Soviet way was on its way out, and there was some form of transition going on. And if you remember, the people in the Soviet Union, they marched on the Kremlin in Moscow. This was I believe, if memory serves, and I could be wrong because I'm delving into my own memories. But it was Yeltsin. It was Yeltsin who was being elevated. And I remember watching that, and I remember the people storming the former Soviet, currently Russian government buildings and setting fires and burning it down. And I remember being a kid in his 20s. I was delivering pizzas. And it was during the lunch rush. We weren't exactly Russian, so I had time. And I was sitting in the bar of the pizza restaurant where I work, and I was just watching this on CNN unfold. And I remember thinking to myself, well, that's why they fell apart. That is exactly why the Soviet system would never work. These people are feeling very arrogant. Never in a million years did I think I would be watching the exact same thing happening in my country. Luckily, we didn't lose everything that we've worked over 200 years for. And are there problems with the way our country is? You're damn right there are. But we knew that going in. That's what we signed up for. Our system is designed to navigate problems, to work through problems, to talk them out. And at some point on January 6th, that just all fell apart. And it just became absolutely insane. So we don't need to go into much more about Bird. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for this guy. I feel bad for this guy's family. I feel bad for the people that are so ginned up by nonsense, so radicalized, that they went after this guy, that they went after this guy's family, that this guy's in hiding now. I feel bad for Ashley Babbitt. I feel bad for Ashley Babbitt's family. Look, I'm not one of these people who go, she asked for it. Yeah, you do that, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. We're long past that, people. We got to stop with that stuff. We got to be more thoughtful about one another. We got to care more about what's going on with the people in our lives. When we've got somebody in our family who's spinning off, we don't just cut off all contact with them. And you know that many people have done that. Man, we got to reach, we got to be kind. We got to be able to try and understand them. Look, we don't have to change the way we think about them either. We just have to recognize that, man, these are crazy times and they're going through something, and I love them because they're a member of my family. And no matter what it is that they're experiencing right now, I'm willing to sit here, not poke the bear, and try and get through this. Families have been destroyed. Marriages have been lost. Kids don't talk to their parents. And now we're calling a proudly serving 28-year police officer. We're calling him a murderer. And we're calling the person that was trying to attack and murder, murder? They were going to murder him. They just wanted to talk. None of them had guns or anything. Dude, they were all carrying nooses and they were erecting gallows out in front of the... Are you kidding? Stop it. Stop it. And you know what? Our politicians aren't helping. It just looked like a normal day on Capitol Hill. It would just look like a bunch of tourists. If your representative is saying stuff like that, come on, man. Come on. At some point, you cannot be gaslit like that. You cannot be. You've got to allow yourself to go, okay, that doesn't look like a normal tourist day at the United States Capitol. Ashley Babbitt is not a martyr. Ashley Babbitt is a victim. She is not a victim of Lieutenant Byrd's bullet. She is a victim of this incredibly, rapidly deteriorating society. All right. I wish there was a way to transition because... And that's nervous laughter. I always do that. After I try and be heartfelt and try and be honest about something, I tend to laugh, nervous laughter. All right. So what else do we got here? Oh, okay. This is another ugly one. I didn't want this. This is all right. Did you see this story today? This just seems mean, man. This is so in Waukesha, Wisconsin, which I'm very familiar with Waukesha, Wisconsin. It's just outside of Chicago. Is it just outside of Chicago? I mean, I don't know. I know where I'm. It's in the Chicago Milwaukee superplex or whatever the hell you want to call it. So it's a town in Wisconsin. Oh, I can't do this. I am sorry. I clicked on a story for the Washington Post, and let me tell you, I ain't gonna pay the Washington Post. Well, you want to read this story? Hey, here's a story that could probably help you in your day. Well, I understand why they have to charge. I mean, the business model for journalism in this country has been radically upended over the past couple of years. So I don't hold it against them. But here's the situation going on in Waukesha, Wisconsin. This is why you might see free lunch or whatever trending in Waukesha. Every eligible Wisconsin school district is providing all students free meals this year, except in Waukesha. Now, why might this be? Because of the pandemic, there have been a lot of, federal programs that have stepped up and helped people out. And one of the things that they did was they stayed committed to the idea of providing free lunches to school children, public school children. And every school district in Wisconsin is accepting this. They're all saying, yes, okay, thank you so much, because our personal school budgets have been kind of upended as well. And, we need to really be thinking about the kids. We need to make sure that these kids, at least once a day, these are kids. These are our kids. I believe the children are the future. Did you think I was only going to be singing on the late night show? No, I'll give you a little bit of that here too. These kids, don't give them kids free food. Let them go hungry. They'll learn how to dig a ditch for $1. Honestly, that attitude, the reason that I think that we're kind of in this problem in this place is because way too many of us were raised by men like that. I told you about it last. Don't trust no female pilot. She's going to be on her menstrual cycle and she's not going to be able to pay attention. Those guys raised way too many of us. They did. Not me. I dodged a bullet. I had a cool ass mom, single mom. So I maybe have a different worldview on all that stuff. Nearly every Wisconsin public school, all students will be able to eat free meals this academic year, same as they did last year under a federally funded program responding to the pandemic. But Pugs, that's federal money. Why do we got to worry about that? Shouldn't that be state money or maybe the people in the community? Okay, so let's see the community rise up. Let's see the churches get involved. Let's see the people who are supposed to take care of the schools rise up. But they're not. So personally, my tax dollars, if they want to go to something like feeding kids, I would rather have my money go to feeding kids who might be hungry than have them go build a bomber that we haven't used for 20 years simply because we're funding a factory in Dothan, Alabama where they don't want to do layoffs. That's why, we do this, right? We have so much waste in this government, so freaking much of it. There are deserts. There are stretches of the desert that are just filled with brand new military equipment that will never be used because they're shamefully out of date. They don't. Does this thing even have Wi-Fi? This plane doesn't even have Wi-Fi. It was built last week. Yeah, because it was built to specs that were designed in 1975. That's when we built the factory and we employed all of these people. And yeah, the factory isn't up to par. We can't really produce these modern aircraft, but we're going to keep building the old ones. You're going to keep paying for them. And then, we're just going to ditch them out there in the desert. There's a whole... I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding. But as a taxpayer, as an American citizen, let's focus on that shit, right? Before we start saying, those kids need to learn how to struggle for food. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? We're supposed to be good people. We're supposed to be a Christian nation. We're supposed to, Judeo-Christian. Don't want to leave out that. We're supposed to be, followers of the word of Christ, if not Christ himself. But somehow the folks in Waukesha decided to depart from the rest of the people in the state who seem to have the best interest of the kids in mind. People in Waukesha, they ain't doing it anymore. Yeah, you know what? Free lunches? Nah, you keep your money. You build another 1975 spec bomber. We're going to let our kids learn what it's like to go hungry. We need to raise the next generation of monsters. Nearly every Wisconsin public school, all students will be able to eat free meals this academic year, same as they did last year under a federally funded program responding to the pandemic, but not in Waukesha. Fun name, though, right? Waukesha. Wisconsin has the coolest names. Sheboygan, Waukesha. I mean, it really does. If you just look at a map of Wisconsin, cool names. Administrators in Waukesha opted out of the program, but school board members, administrators had opted into. So the school administrators opted into the food program last year, but school board members intervened and hit the brakes this time around. All right, so you see what's going on. So the professionals in the administration of the school system, the professionals, the people who went to school, who've really dedicated their lives to the education of our youth, and you would think by their job description that they are more, in line with the way a decent person might think about their kid going to school. They have to at least present as if they care about each and every kid equally. That's the administration. They opted in. Then the school board got involved. We've seen these school boards, right? We've seen these school board meetings, the people that get up and start ranting about spoons sticking to their chest and, calling the district superintendent a Nazi and, all of these crazy people. Well, they get elected to their local school boards. And then they see something that the professionals, the administrators do, and they go, nah, you know what? Hannity wouldn't like that. Nah, we're going to get rid of that. These are also people who have been radicalized in their thinking. Administrators had opted into the program last year, but school board members intervened and hit the brakes this time around. Here's a quote now. As we get back to whatever you want to believe normal means, I'm so cynical. As we get back to whatever you think normal means, we have decisions to make. Joseph Como, president of the school board, said in a meeting. I would say this is part of normalization. Board members Karen Rajnicek. Yeah, I'm good. That's a really difficult name to pronounce, but I grew up in the Chicago area where that's not that abnormal of a name or sounding name. Karen Rajnicek, and now on the second pass, I fumbled. Said the free program made it easy for families to become spoiled. She doesn't want your kids to become spoiled by eating every day. She doesn't want your kids to be take for granted that they're not going to have to go to bed hungry. That's what she does. That's being spoiled. Board member Karen Radnicek said the free program made it easy for families to, quote, become spoiled. Darren Clark, assistant superintendent for business services, said he feared there would be a slow addiction to the service. I am worried, completely irrationally, by the way, but I am worried that these kids will think they can walk into a McDonald's and get it for free because, as my friend Karen over here says, they've become spoiled. Isn't that despicable? I mean, if you have any semblance of decency, isn't that these are kids? Again, there are so many things that you can complain about. There are so many things before we get to our grandparents and our children that we can cut from the budget before we start doing this. Waukesha students from low-income families will still be able to apply for free or reduced price meals under the traditional National School Lunch Program. In addition, as we practiced before the pandemic, young students in grades lower than high school who come to school without a packed lunch money or an accepted lunch program application may be given cheaper meals of cheese sandwiches. Okay, so well, yeah, but I mean, if they're poor, they can just get their little poor people card. And then when they get in line with all of their friends who they're already a little bit, insecure around, because let's face it, kids are pretty insecure about their place in the social standings at that point. Yeah, they could just whip out their little blue "My Parents Are Losers" card. Yeah, I mean that. I'm obviously speaking from the perspective of a moron. Yeah, man. I mean, it was better when nobody was singled out, because, kids are very understanding. Kids are incredibly understanding. If you're a little bit different as a kid, maybe you got a scar or maybe some deformity, trust me, the kids in your class, they're going to be wonderful to you, because nothing is kinder and more gentle than a 12-year-old. everybody was allowed to eat. It was fine. The government was putting this money out there. And trust me when I tell you, the government has money for this because, again, we have deserts filled with obsolete military equipment that we pay billions and billions of dollars for a year. But not kids. No. We're going to, you know what? I think it's important that the kids who come from families of winners are able to tell what a loser looks like. So that card, you know what? Instead of just having a card, why don't we make them wear an armband? They should wear an armband that says, my dad didn't graduate from college, or maybe something that says, my mom was a slut in high school and had me at a way too early age to provide for me adequately. How about something like that? I mean, that'll make it easier. Then they don't have to pull out a card. No, you're a Nazi. We're crazy. We're crazy. It's a Friday show. See, this is what I mean. Today's trending topics are absolutely awful. Ugh, I don't like it. All right, let's see what else is next. Oh, and this is another bad one. Oh, it's all bad. We're going into the weekend and everything is bad. This is a local one that's trending here. So if we live here in Texas, I've heard of this guy. This guy's been a rabble rouser. He's been out there. His name is Caleb Wallace. He doesn't believe we should be wearing masks. Not entirely sure that he believes the pandemic is even real, but he has been organizing these massive Texas anti-mask, open up the state, kind of arguments. It's the freedom something. I don't know, maybe it says it here. I don't know who this guy is. But here's the headline. Freedom Rally. The Freedom Rally guy, Caleb Wallace. 30-year-old man. 30-year-old man radicalized somehow. I don't know, by the internet, by his choices of information sources. I don't know, but he's been radicalized. Texas anti-mask Freedom Rally organizer is fighting for his life with COVID-19. His pregnant wife said this week that the hospital was, quote, out of options for her husband. This is a guy that's been on news. He's been on local news. He's been on national news. Not necessarily any of the news sources that I get, because they probably wouldn't pay any attention to this guy, and they wouldn't want to serve to echo his already inane opinions. A Texas man who helped organize protests against pandemic, and I'm all for protests. You want to protest, that's fine. But this just ginning people up. A Texas man who helped organize protests against pandemic restrictions is fighting for his life after being hospitalized for nearly a month with COVID-19, this according to the San Angelo Standard Times. His wife, Jessica Wallace. His wife, Jessica, wrote Wednesday on Facebook that she had a, quote, heartbreaking update about her husband, Caleb. He's not doing good. It's not looking in our favor, she said. His lungs are stiff due to the fibrosis. They called from the hospital and said that they've run out of options for him and asked if I would consent to do a do not resuscitate order, and that it would be up to us when to stop the treatments. My heart just can't. I can't imagine my life without him. It's a young married couple, 30s. She's pregnant. She's pregnant going through this. He did this. He did this to himself. His ignorance, his rank ignorance, did this to himself, to his pregnant wife. I mean, look, I'm a compassionate man and I feel bad for him. I feel bad for anybody that has to learn this lesson in this way. But let's not get it twisted here. He did this to himself. He did this to his wife. He did this to his unborn baby. And oh yeah, he did this to his other 3 children who are now going to be raised by a widow, a pregnant widow, who is going to soon have 3 toddlers and an infant, and no Caleb around to protect him. This is what I'm talking about when I say the moms have to step up. That dads are being lunatics. Moms must step up. This mom, her life is going to be changed forever. Her children are not going to have the life that they wanted. Probably going to be raised in apartments, driving crappy cars, trying to go hat in hand to grandparents or whatever for a little bit of money to help us get through the rent because dad did some truly ridiculous things. Caleb Wallace, a 30-year-old father of 3 and one on the way, has been unconscious, ventilated, and heavily sedated in the ICU at Shannon Medical Center in San Angelo since August 8th. The Standard Times reported this. His wife said on a GoFundMe page for household and medical bills that he was intubated multiple times, had high fevers, infections, and bleeding in his chest. So there is a Caleb Wallace GoFundMe page. Maybe it's under Jessica Wallace. I don't know. But I would not be opposed to helping these people out. I think Caleb did this to himself. But there are 3 kids there and an unborn kid so if you want to help out, even if you disagree, there is a GoFundMe page available for Caleb Wallace. And maybe you might have to search Jessica Wallace. I don't know. Maybe Freedom Rally. But be careful because you don't want to be funding, those kinds of things so that they can just make sure that you're finding the GoFundMe page for Caleb Wallace. His wife said on a GoFundMe page for household and medical bills that he was intubated multiple times, had high fevers, infections, and bleeding in his chest. In July, Caleb Wallace reportedly helped organize the Freedom Rally, an event that billed itself as a protest against the government being in control of our lives. Well, you got a ventilator in control of your life now. How's that feel? Not trying to be glib. I'm just angry. We're all human beings. We all have this, bouillabaisse of emotions that are constantly bubbling in us. And yes, we must lean hard into our sense of empathy. We must remember that we are compassionate people. But it's difficult. It's so difficult. In July, Caleb Wallace reportedly helped organize the Freedom Rally, an event that billed itself as a protest against the government being in control of our lives. He also founded the San Angelo Freedom Defenders, which hosted a rally last year to end COVID tyranny. He's really, really understanding now what COVID tyranny is. There is a tyrant in his system, and it ain't going to stop. Look. Whatever you do, you pray. I would ask even the people that don't like him. Say a good word, good thought, do something, put something optimistic and kind out in the world today if you don't pray. Do something nice for somebody and just tell yourself that's for this family who have been radicalized by this nonsense. In July, Caleb Wallace reported, we already did that. COVID tyranny. That's what he called it. He wrote a letter in April to the San Angelo Independent School District and published by a local news outlet demanding that the school district rescind all COVID-related policies immediately. He falsely claimed that wearing masks had harmful effects on children and that there was little evidence that masks worked for anyone. So where did he get that information? Did he conduct a years-long independent study? Was that what he did? Instead of playing fantasy football with the boys, did he get them all together and say, let's do a real in-depth study on whether or not these masks are? No, he didn't. No, he did not do that. He didn't do that. He heard that from somebody. He heard that from somebody incredibly irresponsible. And now he's probably going to die, leaving a widow, a pregnant widow, and 3 children, little kids. When he first felt symptoms back on July the 26th, his wife told the Standard Times that he refused to get tested or seek medical care. So he's walking around feeling sick, and I'm sure he's going into the 7-Eleven and, still shaking hands and hugging people. Bro! How many other people? How many? We don't know. We don't know how many other people. You ain't contact tracing. This is the problem. Nobody seems to be understanding that, the world is different right now. Momentarily, God, hope, please, momentarily. And it's been a year, but honestly, in the grand scheme of the world, a year is nothing. This era, this COVID era that we're all going through, it's affecting all of us. We just need to pull together. Jessica Wallace told the Standard Times that she was less conservative than her husband and personally wears a mask. This is what I'm talking about, moms. This is what I'm talking about. Moms, make it all stop. Dads, for dads, it's all going to be about ego. For dads, it's all going to be about, look what your dad is doing. Look at all these people that are out here talking. Look at this. That's what it is for dads. Not all dads. Not all dads. I don't mean to, but the bulk of this is happening with ridiculous parents. But the mom's got to step up. You moms got to go, okay, Lib. All right, baby, put on your mask. Come on, let's do it. All right. You know what? Don't be hugging people. Don't be, shaking hands with strangers. We have to follow these rules. Don't you be poisoning them with that Obama bullshit. That's what it always comes down to. Who we voted for, who we supported. This infection does not have a political ideology. It doesn't give a shit. Jessica, who claims to be less conservative and personally wears a mask, she says, Caleb would tell me, masks aren't going to save you, but he understood I wanted to wear them, she said. It gives me comfort to know that maybe, just maybe, I'm either protecting someone or avoiding it myself. Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Now, I suggested the other night that the moms in the world, we've got to take a page out of Aristophanes, the great Greek, the world's first comedy writer, the classical Greek Mel Brooks. We need to take a page from this guy. He wrote a play called Lysistrata, which was, all of the women of ancient Greece. They got together and they said, we're tired of these Peloponnesian wars. We are sick of our men going off to war, this endless drudge through the horrors of war. We are tired of it. And we, the women of classical Greece, we're gonna stop having sex with our husbands until they calm the F down. That was Aristophanes' take. Back in 400 BC? Something like that? Maybe that's what we got to do now. Because Jessica Wallace, this seemingly normal, non-radicalized woman, pregnant woman, mother of 3 little kids who's about to lose her husband. I don't know. You don't want to say, well, she could have done more. And I'm not even kidding about the whole women stop having sex with your husbands until they calm the F down. I'm not kidding. I know it's going to be difficult. I know that you're going to, I work every day and I slave and now I goddamn doors are slamming and blah, blah, blah. Okay, it'll be difficult. But what isn't difficult about marriage? Says a guy who's been married twice. The Wallace family story comes amid a mass debate across Texas, where Republican Governor Greg Abbott has issued an, by the way, he's fine. He's good. Greg Abbott, he had COVID last week, but now he's rolling around, spouting out all the stuff that he was before, and he's fine. He came through it great. Greg Abbott came through COVID like a champ because he's been vaccinated. Because he received special treatments once he did test positive. I don't know if it's the fabled Regeneron treatments or whatever, some kind of a HIV cocktail that they pumped into him. I don't know what they did. But I do know that Greg Abbott received the treatment that you're not going to get. And while he's out there, maybe not fully saying don't get vaccinated, I don't know if he's gone that far. He's been vaccinated himself, and he's certainly playing in. He's certainly echoing that sentiment from others, maybe not articulating it in exactly that way, but he's putting a mood out. He's putting a mood out to the people who follow him. And it's as disingenuous as it can be because we're talking about human life here. We're talking about a guy who did everything that the so-called lefties, the guy did everything that they asked. He got vaccinated. And he still got it. And when he got it, it was nothing because he was vaccinated. It came and it went. Caleb Wallace, who was on a ventilator in a San Antonio hospital, he didn't have that. He didn't. He was probably confused. He's like, wait, so am I supposed to get vaccinated or not? So are all of these people, Lindsey Graham had the COVID like a champ. President Trump had the COVID like a tramp. He came through it. He got the vax. Be a little bit more discerning about who it is that we take information from. Everybody's got to operate like an old school reporter. You need multiple sources before you can print something as a way to live your life. You're gonna need multiple sources these days, because honestly, just someone telling you shit that you want to do, some guy that you listen to online, saying a guy online, some dude like that, you don't have your best interest in line. He's playing to a crowd. I know, friends. This playing to the crowd thing. Oh my God. I have a friend who was a stand-up comedian. He was a middling stand-up comedian. He was a national tour. He went around from market to market. He was slogging it out. He could never be a headliner. He was just not that good, if I'm being honest. Moderately amusing, a pro through and through. Dedicated his life to the act of stand-up comedy. And then like a year ago, he just suddenly decided that he was going to be one of these crazy QAnon stand-up comics. Now, I know this guy. He doesn't believe any of it. What he sees is a way to stop being a middler on the comedy tour, and he can now headline in Jackson, Mississippi, and he can go down there in Kentucky, and he can sell out. Hey, I'm playing in Epcot. I'm playing in Florida. I got sold out this entire arena. Those Florida people, they love my stuff. And he's even less funny now, because there is just such a manipulation at work that anyone that saw his act in years past, or anyone that knows him, and I'm not going to give his name because I'm not going to promote him. But I mean, that's what we're talking about here. There are people who see an opportunity to manipulate, and anybody who gets the shot, anybody who wears a mask, anybody who looks and says, you know what, I don't know jack shit about diseases or how viruses get transmitted. I certainly don't know shit about vaccines. So maybe I'm going to listen to people who, have a bunch of fancy letters after their name. MD, DD, boom, whatever, PhD. Maybe I should listen to people who actually know about this stuff. I mean, would you sit there? Let's say you're an auto mechanic. Would you sit there and listen to Dr. Fauci tell you how to put a carburetor back together? No, you'd be like, you're listening to Fauci? Fauci is telling you how to reinstall a catalytic converter on a 1978 Grand Prix. Are you kidding me? Come on. You wouldn't do that. I mean, just check your ego a little bit, just a little bit, and just go, you know what? Okay, there's shit I don't know. There's shit I have no idea about. And I'm not sure that this guy on YouTube from his basement is giving me the straight dope. Maybe I should listen to a guy in a white coat. Or better yet, go see your doctor. Just ask your doctor. But see, here's the problem. That's the easy thing. It's, well, everybody just go see your doctor. If you just ask your own doctor. Most people don't. I'm speaking from experience. Most people don't have the same doctor. The way that we take care of ourselves in this country is not what it was in the 1950s. It's not the kindly old doctor. It's not, the guy who delivers your first child can say, I delivered your mommy all those years ago. That doesn't really happen anymore. I mean, I know it does in some cases. But, with the way health insurance is, when I go to a doctor who's in my network, who's got an availability. I don't have the same doctor. I go to the doctor once every 3 years, right? I mean, I don't participate in annual checkups. I don't do any of that stuff because it's just too difficult. It's just, there's too much to it, and I'm fine. And maybe that's me being naive, and I probably am. As I get older, I should probably take more, of an initiative in caring for myself. But the idea that we all can pick up the phone and call old kindly Doc Jones, and he's going to tell us the straight dope, that's a fake out. That's an end around. We don't really all have that kind of access to a doctor. But ask your doctor. That's what I say, because I know you really can't do that. Oh, you can't find a doctor? All right, well, listen to me, because I'll be doing my Q report every night here on YouTube. All the best to the Wallace family. be nice if, people wanted to help the wife out, Jessica Wallace. Caleb Wallace is on Caleb Wallace, organizer, leader of the Freedom Party or Freedom Rally. He's on a ventilator in San Antonio. You want to help out his wife, his pregnant wife, and his 3 kids? There's a GoFundMe there. You can find this. And this leads me to another topic, which is very similar, almost the same exact thing. I'm seeing a lot of, this is happening a lot. A lot of people like Caleb Wallace who are very vocal, very loud about all of this. And folks, I can't stress this enough. This is not about politics. This is not about who you voted for. This is not about whether you're a lefty liberal or a far right wackadoo. It's not about that. It's about all of us. It's about getting through that bullshit and stop pretending that we know everything and just having a little humility. And I talked a little bit about the comedian that I know who suddenly just decided, hey, I see a market that I could dominate. Well, a lot of people in radio have gone that way too. And I always say, never trust anyone in radio. Never trust anyone that you hear on the radio unless maybe they have a doctor in front of their name and they're, dispensing advice. And they seem to have some modicum of integrity about what it is that they do for a living. But just a DJ, we talked about Glenn Beck earlier. Glenn Beck is now suddenly this incredible, advocate for rescuing Christians only out of the desperate hordes of people there in Afghanistan at the airport. Glenn Beck was a morning zookeeper. I mean, that's how far back I go with Glenn Beck. I remember when Glenn Beck was in Cleveland doing, it's Drop Your Pants Monday, people. He just reinvented. He saw the political divide coming. He saw the rise of things like Fox News and MSNBC deciding to actively segment the population. And he went, all right, I see an opportunity. I'm going to go into talk, but I'm only going to... And he made a lot of money, and he's a very wealthy man. He's an opportunist. There was another guy. This is what I'm getting to. There's a local radio personality. I don't give his name, but he died, not local here, local in his market. It was somewhere in Tennessee or whatever. I probably syndicated all over that area. He's a very popular guy. And he was anti-mask, anti-vax. This is all, due to the lefties. And they're trying, you're all sheep if you do any of this stuff. And then, he came up with a wacky parody song. He went into the studio and he created a song called Vax Man. Because he's the Vax Man. Oh, look at this. I get it because it's the Beatles' Tax Man. But the Vax Man's going to be coming to your door and they're knocking. And when they knock, you're going to have to give your arm up to get the vax or else they're going to hold you down. Just spewing all of this nonsense. He's dead. He died last week. There was no satisfaction or joy in seeing that. I mean, could have seen it coming. I mean, it's like, okay, same case as Caleb Wallace. My God, you're so cavalier about all of this. You must have multiple degrees in epidemiology or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. Because I certainly do not have multiple degrees, which is why you shouldn't listen to me about any of this. What you should listen to me about is how to be a nicer guy, because that's really what I'm trying to be. How to be a better citizen, how to be a better member of the population. But this guy in Tennessee or Kentucky or whatever it is, and by the way, if you've ever been to Tennessee or Kentucky, some of the most beautiful parts of this country are in Tennessee. Boy, if you ever get the opportunity to drive from Louisville to Lexington, you are just going to have the most beautiful ride through rolling hills of horse country you ever saw. I swear, there is a white picket horse fence that starts just outside Louisiana and it ends just outside Lexington. It's one of God's greatest miracles here in North America, that drive from Louisville, Kentucky to Lexington. I suggest that everyone do it at least once. It truly is one of the most beautiful stretches of road that I've ever had the privilege to drive on here in this country. There's a stretch of road in Ireland that's a little better, but man, this one is really good. But the people in these states that occupy these beautiful lands, they're listening to guys like this dude who's writing crazy parody songs about the vax man. Yeah, I'm the vax man. And like I said, he's dead. And he also gave one of these, his last words were about, I shouldn't have done this. His last words were, oh, was that a mistake? And that's fine for him. And again, there is no dancing on graves. There is no spiking the ball at the funeral home. There is none of this. That is not my intent when I'm talking about these people. But by the same token, we have to wonder how many people did Caleb Wallace sitting in that hospital bed on that ventilator in San Antonio, how many people did he not infect, not even going there, but how many people did he infect with his bad ideas? How many people rallied to his cause and followed him? And how many of them are going to be dead? See, they're not going to get the front page news in the local papers or nationwide and have someone like me talking. They're not going to get that because they're not the guy at the head of the Freedom Rally. They're just somebody in the crowd. They don't count. These people don't care about you. What they care about is seeing how many people can we get together. And then once we get all of these people together, there's got to be a way to make money off that, right? And I said earlier today that I retweeted a wonderful tweet from a girl who said that our capitalist sensibility has infected the world to the point that nobody believes that anybody would do anything from the goodness of their heart. Nobody. If you're doing anything, everything has got to be suspect. Everything has got to be for some sort of ulterior motive or some profit. And that's what I believe a lot of these people who are just boldly giving the middle finger to medical science and all of that are doing. So it is difficult to feel bad for them when you think about all the other people that they've influenced, all the other people that they've given bad information to. But the human side, and this is the hard thing, we got to get better in touch with our humanity. The human side of us says, these are people. These are not bad people. Caleb Wallace, I bet 10 years ago was a dude. I bet Caleb Wallace, the guy he's not going to make it. I mean, he's not going to make it. He's going to leave a pregnant wife and 3 little kids. That guy, I bet you that guy at some point in his life was a pretty cool guy. Has to have been fairly charismatic. I mean, he rallied this whole thing, put it together. I bet he was a fun guy. I bet he was a decent guy. I bet he was a proud Texan who you'd have a beer with down there and you sing whatever, Pat Green songs with. And then something happened. And it goes back to what I was saying about Ashley Babbitt. She's a veteran of the United States Air Force, served proudly, spent her entire life. She wasn't a troublemaker by any account that I've seen. But something happened to these people. Something happened to a lot of us. We're not thinking straight. And it's all based on our hatred of one another. It's all based on our hatred of somebody that's just a little bit different than us, thinks a little bit different. We used to just dismiss that. Well, he supports Eisenhower. We're Kennedy people. He's voted for Nixon. He's fine. Hey, Bob, are you still coming over for the barbecue? All right, yeah. Don't bring any of that Nixon bullshit over to my Kennedy house. All right, yeah. Give my best to Marge. That's how we used to be. Now we're building gigantic fences and walls around our houses and decorating it with, supportive banners and flags for the people that we voted for. And anybody in the neighborhood that doesn't have exactly like what you have, well, you know what? Fuck them. Ugh. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Going off on a rant. So my sincere and honest best to Caleb Wallace and certainly to Jessica Wallace and the children. Is that right? Is it, for some reason, all of a sudden, Wallace doesn't sound right to me. Like, is Jessica Wallace? Is that right? All right. So let's see what else is going on here. Why don't we check in on the new trends? Yeah, as we've got another 20 minutes here left in the show, let's see exactly what I missed over. Those were the stories that caught my attention earlier today. And now let's freeball it a little. And again, programming note for those of you who enjoy this show. This show's a little heavier, a little bit more straight, a little bit more news-based, topic-driven. Anything that's happening today, I'm going to try and talk about it. But the nighttime show that we do every night at 10 o'clock, it's a little bit looser. And like I said, if you want to check out last night's show, you would be shocked at all of the rock songs that contain pedophile lyrics. You would be shocked. We talked about that on last night's show. And we also went into, I challenged the listeners to tell me reasons why in my past radio career here on the air in Dallas, give me examples of things I did back then as a shock jock that again, just talking about how we were allowed to be crazy, and we said, yeah, man, if you have girls in and they show their boobs, your ratings will go up. And I'm like, okay, without any thought about anything else. It was so I'm a victim of it, but I'm older now, and I have a kid who I love dearly, and I see the world he's grown up in, and I get very upset. And so the nighttime show is just a little bit funner. It's a little bit lighter. This one we're gonna probably get into more beefy stuff, but the 10 o'clock show, if you want to listen to it, it's the Pillow Talk edition of Pugs Moran Live. That's every night at 10 o'clock, Sunday through Thursday. No shows on Friday. So Sunday night, we'll be back doing that show. So we'd love it if you can join us, and you can find any of the links that you want to follow. You want to follow the show, or you want to, here, we'll put it up there for you. There you go. Follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook. You follow me on YouTube. You can do it wherever you want to go. I have not spent much time in the chat here today, and I do apologize. I've been on a bit of a rant, if you know what I'm saying. And I don't know why. I had absolutely no intention of doing this. It's just my God, the stories that were trending today are, Oh, hey, also, Donda is trending. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I do have a couple of things I wanted to talk about that were a little bit lighter. You know what Donda is? Donda is the new Kanye West album. Yeah, Kanye West is back. And Donda was his mom. And if those of you who are Kanye fans that go way back, you remember his mom passed away in surgery about, 10, 12 years ago now. I'm not entirely sure. But he has his new album is titled Donda, and it's all about his life and growing up. And there were some videos circulating late last night. He's doing concert shows, but they ain't concerts. I don't know what the hell this is going on. And look, I think Kanye, here's how I describe Kanye. Kanye seems to me to be taking on the role of like the Andy Kaufman of music. I never know when he's serious. I don't know that he is ever serious. I think that he has admitted that he has some issues, some mental issues. Hey, don't we all? I suffer from depression. People suffer from all kinds of things. Kanye's got something going on there as well. He's been open and honest about it. He's without doubt, in my opinion, whether or not you like his music or not, he is a genius. He is, as a guy in a studio that puts stuff together in the genre that he performs in, he is a true genius. He's one of the greats. And he's, I say this as someone who wouldn't say I'm a big Kanye West. I wouldn't go see him in concert. I mean, if tickets were free and the seats were good. Actually, if the tickets were free and it was like in one of them suites, then I might do it, because I don't really know all of his deep cuts. I know the hits. And more than anything else, I know his public persona. I know his place in pop culture and all the nonsense that we've seen. He is the Andy Kaufman of the music business. And he's got the new album Donda, and he's going around, he's doing these listening parties. Not a concert, but he's having them at stadiums. And last night he performed in his hometown of Chicago at the Soldier Field. That's right. So home of the Bears. Kanye West put on his Donda listening party last night. And dude, it was the weirdest thing that these videos that are going around. I would never in a million years think that I would want to go to a listening party. You mean I'm going to pay these exorbitant ticket prices and I'm going to get in here and we're just going to listen to it? That would not usually be something that I'd be okay with. But boy, what I saw last night, here's what I saw. After I signed off here, I went on Twitter. I was just checking things out. And I saw a video of Kanye West fully engulfed in flames. So Soldier Field is unrecognizable. I mean, they built the stage for this listening party. Didn't know a stage was required for a listening party, but they have a stage in the center of Soldier Field, maybe where the 50-yard line would be, and they built this entire swath of ground, like elevated, probably 100 tons of dirt was brought in, and they built this little ground. And upon it, they recreated his South Side of Chicago childhood home. because remember, the album's Donda. It looks so cool. I mean, it really does. I think Kanye's a bit of a clown sometimes, but a genius. You give him that. But it looks so cool. I mean, just aesthetically speaking, this guy's got a good idea for blowing people's minds. And in one of the videos that was going around, he was on his fabricated front lawn from his childhood with the house in the background, fully engulfed in flames. Completely on fire. It's Kanye West, and he's completely. Now I don't know if it was a stuntman. The camera angle was not up close, so you couldn't really see. And you couldn't see the face anyway because it was all flames. He was engulfed in flames, and he's flailing around. Now maybe Kanye put on one of them fire suits, right, or whatever, or maybe it was a stuntman that the audience was led to believe was going to be Kanye, but then he walked behind a bush, and the stuntman dressed the exact same way, emerges from the. I don't know. I didn't see all of that. All I saw was Kanye West engulfed in flames on the front lawn of his fabricated childhood home in the middle of Soldier Field, just going like this. And I thought I had no, and it was like posted 2 minutes ago. And so it was just trending there. And I'm like, is he on fire? I mean, he could very real. Is this a tragedy or is this performance art? Does he know what he's doing, or is something gone tragically wrong? And we're all sitting here on Twitter watching Kanye West cook alive. Well, apparently it was fine. Apparently it was all part of the production. It was all part of what he had intended. But boy, for a couple of minutes there, I'm refreshing the page. I'm like, okay. Did something go terribly wrong? Did Kanye's crazy mind finally get him in trouble? And it turned out he was all right. But boy, what a spectacular performance. I mean, I've been reading, I know a number of people in Chicago media who attended the event last night just for, I don't know if necessarily purely journalistic reasons, but they were there. They had access to it and they were there, and they are all tweeting like, oh my God, it was the best, quote, concert I've ever seen. Apparently he's killing it with these listening parties. They're absolutely insane. So that's why Donda, the name of Kanye West's not recently, but late mother, is tending. The album is Donda, and I guess he'll be taking the show where he lights himself on fire to your town, depending on where. I don't know if he's coming here to Texas though. I would hope so. So where would he do that? Where would he do it? Would he do it at AT&T Stadium? He would probably want to do it at AT&T Stadium, but I imagine Jerry looking at footage going, you going to set himself on fire? You going to set himself on fire right there on the Star? Yeah, no, that ain't going to happen. Send him over to Cotton Bowl. He'll be over to Cotton Bowl. Maybe that's the best place for him. All right, let's see here. What else is trending? What do we have here? I know there were other things that I wanted to talk about too. Oh, this is what I absolutely despise about trending topics, especially at this time of the day. There are no real gritty issues. It's all soccer. Man United FC. Apparently they've got their version of the trade deadline over there in Premier League soccer. And a lot of big moves are going on. Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, and Lauri Markkanen are trending. I'm a Bulls fan. I know what that's about. Bulls finally got rid of that poorly evaluated draft pick. That's what I'll call Lauri Markkanen. I have no desire to demean the man or say anything mean about it. I'm a Bulls fan. Look, everything mean that I had to say about Lauri Markkanen, I've said during the third quarter of close games. This guy, he was a not number one overall. The first round pick of the Bulls, I think number 7. I think he was a number 7 pick in the draft. A little soft. That's just thought a little. And so finally, he is basically in the 4 years or 5 years, maybe whatever it is, since the Bulls made him their top choice. They're done with him, and they got something for him. It looks like they traded him to the Cavs. So that's the NBA news. Cristiano Ronaldo is trending in. We talked about that yesterday. He's one of the biggest Premier League, not even Premier, biggest world soccer players in existence at the moment. Now, I don't know if he's being traded to Man United or Man City. I don't know, but both Man City and Man United are trending with Cristiano Ronaldo. So I don't know enough. I don't follow the league enough. I'm you know how when you first go into the ocean for the first time, you don't just run in, you kind of one step at a time. That's kind of how I am with Premier League. It's been this way for about a year or so. Ted Lasso, the TV show, certainly helped along my interest in understanding the rules and the terminology and all that. This weekend, we've got a cyclone. What is a cyclone? I don't know what a cyclone is. Got a, typically you'd say there's a hurricane bearing down on the Louisiana coastline, but no, this one they're calling a cyclone. Now, I thought cyclone was the same thing as a hurricane, just in another hemisphere. Like the other part of the world, they just had a different name for it. But, I'm no meteorologist, so apparently I'm wrong. Let's click on this since we got a lot of near and dear friends there over in Louisiana. Let's see what this is all about. Okay. So it's the anniversary. Louisiana, I'm trying to get this one. Let's see. Pull this silly story up. All right. So I'm not getting any real good information here. But yeah, there's a storm heading for Louisiana this weekend. They're hyping it because it's the anniversary of Katrina. So, of course, they're going to try and gin you up to make you think that this is, boy, hey, just another trip to the well, huh, media? Last week, the hurricane that was supposed to decimate New York City didn't exactly pan out for you. But, hey, it is that season, so there's always another chance. So the reason that they're hyping this storm, and it's, I don't know that it is, I'd have to pull up the news and see, exactly what's happening with it. But they're hyping it, and they're making it seem like, it's the anniversary of Katrina. So you remember what happened with Katrina? Yeah, is this like Katrina? Well, it's the anniversary. No, yeah, but I mean, we saw Katrina building and we watched it for days and days, and there were evacuation orders. I mean, so when you say that it's the anniversary of Katrina, are you just making a strange, not necessarily connected observation, or are you saying that this is like Katrina? Nah, it's the anniversary, but remember Katrina, how bad that was? Yeah, of course we do. We still haven't really fully recovered from Katrina. That's a silly question. What do you mean? Well, anniversary, we got a storm coming. So what are you saying? Are you saying that it's a bad storm like Katrina? Or are you just making the observation that, isn't that interesting? It's the same week. All right, so let's go back and let's see what other things are trending here. We're almost at the end. I'm sure there's a lot of important stuff that I missed simply because, like I said, just before we went on the air, I accidentally clicked out of everything that I wanted to talk about. I saw the was it prime minister of Israel? He's hanging with Biden. They're over there. They're sitting there in their little chair in the Oval Office, for the photo op. They got some on. And we're friends with Israel. Boy. Just gonna have to. We always do this at the end of the show here. We always just check in on Twitter just to see what's happening on Twitter, what's trending. I typically don't like to because Twitter trends are either maddeningly divisive or just K-pop, gamers, wrestling, all that stuff. Let's see if that holds up for me. Right now, trending on Twitter, number one is Ronaldo. We already talked about that. Manchester United confirms that they have reached an agreement with Juventus to re-sign forward Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know what any of that means. I know that Ronaldo is a very big name in soccer circles. One of the top guys of recent memory to be out there playing. I don't know if he's old. I don't know if he's like past his prime. Is this a big deal? Is this like trading Lou Brock in his prime? I don't know. It's an old baseball reference for those of you who like baseball. Number two in the United States trending right now, cash. I don't know what that's about. Let's click on cash. See what's. This is there's some Powell and the money people that basically control all the things, the strings everywhere. They're making big changes. But honestly, anything about it because I don't know anything. I could probably fake my way through it and go into a rant about cash, and I could probably do that. But I wouldn't want to give you any stupid. I'm done. I'm dumb when it comes to that stuff. This one was interesting. Scott Zolak. Scott Zolak is trending. He is former backup quarterback for the New England Patriots. He says that the reason Cam Newton isn't performing up to the way Cam Newton should is because of hip hop music. Oops. These guys, what do they go on? Morning radio shows, still a little bit hungover, and they just don't know what they're thinking. This is a quarterback. This isn't some linebacker. This isn't a quarterback is supposed to have a little bit of, how is this going to play when I say it? So he's taking a whole lot of garbage for that. Former Patriots quarterback Scott Zolak says he believes that rap music is hurting Cam Newton's game. Maybe he should listen to what? Country? Or is it just music in general? Because you got all specific with his type of music. Scott, I'm guessing you're not a big fan of Kanye and his new Danya. John Bolton, we won't waste any time on him. Here we go. Katrina is trending. Why, Pugs? Because there's a storm just like Katrina that's going to bear down on... No, just the anniversary, and there is a storm. Oh, yeah, but boy, remember Katrina? How bad is the storm? It's the anniversary of Katrina. Answer my question! How bad is the storm? Katrina was... Kendrick, Judge Cooper. Yeah, they did another thing. They did another thing that the Supreme Court voted to end the moratorium on rent, which is what happened was there was a moratorium on evictions during the pandemic when people had lost their jobs, and there was all this, why can't the government, hey, there's a school district in Waukesha, Wisconsin that isn't worried about paying for their kids' food. Why don't you funnel that move? I mean, I don't know how this is working, but shouldn't landlords be allowed to get some sort of help in these times? I mean, seems to me that if the government is saying, yeah, you can't evict anybody, that you could have people living for an entire year without paying, and that is very compassionate. You don't want to turn people out on the streets during a pandemic, but there's still people who own those properties who are like, the bank didn't say I didn't have to pay my mortgage. So I mean, there's got to be something we can do. There's got to be something that we can figure out. My God, they got the Tom Brady's boutique branding company got like $2 million from the federal government in pandemic relief. There isn't some federal fund for mortgage owners who rent out properties who have been told that they can't evict people who aren't paying until we get through. I mean, come on. But the Supreme Court today ended the moratorium on evictions. So we might be moving forward into the world of evictions. All right, that's it. That's pretty much all we got. Yeah, there's Caleb. Caleb Wallace. Keep a good thought for the Wallace family. It doesn't matter. Show that you are better than other people. Yeah, show that you are better than those people that would stone you for wearing a mask. And keep a good thought for somebody who maybe didn't do some of the best, maybe didn't behave the way you'd like to behave. Maybe you influence people, but it doesn't matter. At some point, this is about being compassionate human beings. This is about, if you claim to be a Christian, understand. Think about, what would Jesus do? Remember that? That was a big thing. We don't seem to rely on that at all anymore. Keep a good thought for the Wallace family. Jessica Wallace, the wife of Caleb Wallace. Caleb Wallace is about to die. He's the founder of the Freedom Rally here in Texas. She's pregnant. They got 3 kids. He made some bad decisions. Of course he did. But hey, let's be like Jesus and forgive and forget, right? All right, that's it. We're going to wrap this up. Once again, I want to tell you, thank you so much for joining me here. Today was an oddly heavy show, and I certainly don't want that for Fridays, but whatever's trending is what dictates how we talk here. Every day, Monday through Friday at noon, we gather here for the High Noon broadcast, and then we do it again at night at 10 o'clock, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more fun, a little bit more silly. We, this is a work in progress. This is the first week that we've been doing these shows. And the studio here is being built out around me. We're going to have different capabilities with each and every show as we move forward. We're going to be taking calls. We're going to have guests. And it's not just going to be me. A few people are like, oh my God, look, I am not tuning into this. I'm going to have co-hosts who are going to sit in with me during shows. We're going to do it like, with the split box thing where I'll be on this side and they'll be on this side. And then we'll fight about waffles or whatever. No, we won't. I'm not going to do that kind of thing. If I have people I am co-hosting with, I'm not going to yell at them. Oh God, here's hoping I can stick to that because, I'm a firecracker boy. I got just like a little bit of a wick. People can set me off, and that's why I'm trying to be better. All right. So, yeah, you can follow us at any of the places that you see there, whether it's on the Facebook, the Twitter page, the YouTube page. You can go directly and find us on the web at pugscast.com. You can also, this weekend, you're looking for some interesting podcasts to listen to. You can come over and check out a full assortment of all kinds of different shows that are offered at radiomisfits.com. That's radiomisfits.com. Those are the people that if you appreciate me being back here the last couple of days this week, you can thank the folks at Radio Misfits. You know, there's, like I always say, there are two guys responsible for all this. It's a guy named Ed Silla, who runs Radio Misfits, and another guy who you all know, local raconteur, bon vivant, local aesthete, Emil Cirillo. He's also been kind enough to provide us with everything that we need to do this for you. So let's build it. Let's grow. Next show, 10 p.m. Sunday night. We'll be here live. And again, we're going to be having lunch at Weinberger's in Grapevine tomorrow at noon. We're going to go out there, and then we've got a big day planned after that. But bringing my kid out. I'm going out with a bunch of people. I'd love it for some of you Facebook people to come out and meet me there. Anything changes, it'll be on the Facebook page. I promise. I wouldn't do that to you. All right, so we'll talk to you on Sunday night at 10 o'clock for the Pillow Talk edition of Pugs and... See what I almost did there? For the Pillow Talk edition of Pugs Moran Live. Have a good weekend, everybody.